Hello, everyone, and welcome to Leaders Who Last. This is our interview series where we explore what burnout is looking like in the hellscape that is 2025. I'm your host, Elena Joy. My pronouns are she, her. My visual description is that I am a short white woman with silver curly hair and a big smile. I'm so glad you're here with us today, y'all. The conversation today is going to be real. Like just in the conversation we had right before I hit the live button, we got very, very real. So if you're feeling like you need to be buttoned up and proper and professional in the next 20 to 30 minutes, I invite you to relax that. Loosen that tie, slip off your heels, get a little more comfortable, and let's be real and human with each other for the next little bit. I'm so excited to welcome Miss Melissa Cordero. She is an incredible friend of mine in Tucson who's doing absolutely incredible work. And the biggest reason I invited her today is because I know that we can have that conversation that we are all needing right now. As she pointed out earlier, it's healing to be in this kind of community conversation. And I know I'm craving that. Melissa, thank you so much for being here today. Tell us about who you are and what you're doing in the world.
Yeah, for sure. Again, my name is Melissa Cordero. My pronouns are she, her. I am the Veterans Power America lead organizer of Arizona, which is right under my name here. I've lived in Tucson for 10 years now. So Tucson is certainly home, but I am originally from Guam. And I spent my middle school and my high school in Hawaii. And I'm an Air Force veteran. I served for 8 years. I separated, and now I am here.
And you're here and doing incredible work. Tell us about the work you're focusing on recently.
Oh, man. More recently, a big part of my work is in climate justice. I'm trying to leverage my veteran status to help educate and also influence, especially rural communities around Arizona, to learn about and consider solar and wind for the future of our Mother Earth, because we need to find other sources of energy, and we need to do it quick. This is a nonpartisan thing. This is nonpartisan work. And that's why we really do lead with our veteran status to, hopefully affect change in those spaces.
Yes.
Aside from that, on the front lines of immigration, which I think that's a nice way of saying it, kidnappings that's happening right now, the unjust way that people are being snatched up. And this also includes veterans. We have veterans who have served the United States of America, put their lives on the line, who have come home, who are broken, who are dealing with PTSD. All the while, a handful of them are in the process of trying to establish their citizenship the right way, but because everything's pending and Trump's administration is trying to meet quotas, it doesn't matter. So people are being yanked, even if they're within a legal, in a legal process. They're following the process, this process that, they love to talk about. Like, if you want to become a citizen, you got to do it the right way. Well, they are, but this administration doesn't care about that. It is sad. It is hard to witness. It's traumatic. It's very triggering. And then even the VA cuts that are happening to veterans right now. And here we are touring with war, and don't be mismessaged. This is just going to turn into a bunch of little proxy wars. So pay attention. Veterans right now are absolutely disposable, and I think that's why we're seeing a big uptick in us showing up and really organizing together. So that's a brief way of just talking about what I'm working on here. And then obviously Fare Free Transit in Tucson. Let's keep it free.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, I think there's something you really touched on that's so important, that there's this veteran identity that is reaching across all genders, all sexualities, all races, all socioeconomic statuses, as well as citizenship status and immigration status. And it becomes this correlation that can become so powerful, because now so many different communities can understand, oh, that those are some of us. And this isn't okay that this is happening because it's affecting our veterans. I think once those VA cuts hit, that really changed the game for the positioning of the movement, I think, because now all of a sudden people that both sides of the aisle, all sides of the aisle, were wanting to support people who had chosen to serve that way. And now we're getting the support yanked out from under them. And I think it's this kind of chaos that's really helping the leadership struggle right now. When you have a leader at the top of an organization like the federal government creating chaos, then you have leadership who's trying to understand, now how do we operate within that chaos, and how do we push back, and how do we create impact, and how do we pursue the goal that the entire team wants to pursue, right? As you have been working in the community, trying to organize people, and like you said, this work is not just easy, it's just that it changes you. I mean, it changed me to simply see the videos. I can't imagine how it would change me to be there in person, trying to prevent it from happening, or at least trying to document that it actually did happen, right? How can you lead people doing work that's going to fundamentally affect them in that way? How do you keep them together, really?
Man, one of the bigger issues too is we're so desensitized. Right? And that shows up everywhere, right? It shows up, how we're able to just, oh, there's a genocide. I'm going to go to work on Monday, right?
Right? Like this, the fact that the dissonance that capitalism creates is that something that every leader is struggling with right now, because we are expecting our team members to come to work while there's a genocide happening, while there is a war happening. Our human brains are very much struggling to understand how we're supposed to synthesize this. So please, I interrupted you. Keep going.
No, I feel bad for business owners, right? Smaller business owners, because corporate businesses, corporate giants they have no excuse. But like on the local level, right? You have so much to lose if you want to speak out, right? You have a lot to lose if you want to speak out. So you have to take that into consideration, right? Do you stay neutral, or do you risk something? And that risk, the willingness to risk, I think, is the difference between, that meme that's rolling around all the time. If you wanted to know what you would do during the time of slavery, this is what you would be doing. So low key, kind of a call out, right? Stay neutral if you want to, go ahead. But you have a platform, you have a responsibility, you have influence. Don't be neutral. Pick a side and stand on it. But even if you didn't want to do that, right? If you want to maintain an inclusive workspace, don't act like nothing's going on. At the least you can do is check in with your employees. Maybe give them the space to lead the conversation if they want to bring up the hard things, but see if they're okay. The world is really hard right now. So if you want to stay neutral, that's on you. But at the least you can do is check in on your people, and I teeter on that side as a former small business myself, right? Would I risk it all when I am still pinching pennies, right? I'm not rich yet, but again, if you have a platform and you can risk that, and you have that kind of financial privilege, and you're not saying anything,
and it goes beyond the saying anything, right? It goes into the doing things. And I think
right.
That's where corporate leaders can really learn a lot from activism leaders, is how do we make that shift from the talking about things and almost that performative allyship and that performative support into the action that it really takes in order for those connections to be made, in order for healing to be made, in order for you to retain your people, whether that's team members or volunteers. Like if they don't feel connected to the leader and to the cause, that retention doesn't happen.
Right.
And yet we have been fed this narrative of it's political and we don't talk about politics at work, right? It's political. And quickly that line is disappearing, right? When people are being kidnapped from the streets. It's no longer political. Like, that is human. That is human experience. And that could be your secretary's cousin.
Mhm.
That could be your team member's brother, right?
Right.
Like, that's where the reality is. And even if it wasn't that directly connected, both of them watched the video of it last night.
Right.
And now both of them feel like they have to go to work because they have to pay the bills, because capitalism, productivity, blah, blah, blah. So if you're the leader, it is on you, I believe, to at least acknowledge that reality.
Mhm.
Simply acknowledging that reality, I feel like, can go such a long way. And yet at the same time, it can feel so threatening for us when we're
Right.
feeling vulnerable. Like,
This
if
is
layoffs might be coming.
absolutely. And this is also where you need to, this is why DEI is freaking important, right? You need to recognize who's working for you, what their backgrounds are, because they're experiencing life different than you. Like, people like to use that term, like, check your individualism at the door. The world doesn't move like that. I love the example you just made. We're both watching at the same time, but that could have been my cousin or, whoever. So if you have brown, indigenous, Mexican, Black, BIPOC, queer, LGBT, anybody who has suffered, this all intersects, right? That's the other part too. This all intersects. And so if you're not checking on, and if you don't even realize that you have marginalized people working for you and you're moving about the cabin like everything is fine, that is part of the system. And that's probably why your employees stay quiet. They're just used to that. Right? They're like,
and
also it's lonely. It's lonely to work in places like that, and again, this is another thing too, right? Like, I've been in positions where I wanted to go off, but I'm not going to because it's my job right now, but as soon as I leave those doors, I'm going to go protest, and I'm going to take that rage that I'm experiencing in my workplace and I'm going to go hard, Or maybe it's not my workplace. Maybe it's just an interaction that I had somewhere and I wasn't willing to risk being arrested at that time. I'm going to take that and I'm going to hit the streets and I'm going to go lean in my communities and I'm going to go hard, right? I'm going to find creative ways to affect change and still have income if I'm in that position.
And therein lies
because you have to, because most of us are living a life where we are one accident, one flat tire away from, I'm going to miss my rent. Right. And that is the majority of us right now.
It is.
So if you're not, like, if you are in a leadership position or have any kind of privilege, like, you need to walk around the world and it's typically those people that probably the people that work the hardest. It's because we have a lot to lose and because we're still fighting for things to change, things that have been fought for many, many years and decades. And we're still experiencing that because this system is working exactly how it's supposed to.
And I think you've been able to help. We've already pointed out the dissonance of, like, this is happening in the world and I have to go to work so I can pay my bills, right? And there's the dissonance of, this is happening in the world, and if I let that take over my mental health's not going to be here for very long, right? We are being worn down because there's so much to care about. It's coming in at all fronts. And so eventually you get overwhelmed. I think that's the word that so many people are associating burnout with right now at this time, is just pure overwhelm. And it freezes us, right? We end up not being able to do anything. How are you being able to help people avoid the freeze, avoid the overwhelm? Are you, like, hyper focusing on one specific thing? Are you really making sure that you have bandwidth and capacity? Like, how are you yourself, and then how are your people kind of preventing that overwhelm that can come so quickly?
Yeah, I think right now for me, I think it's like hyper local joy, right? Like, whether that's in my home, whether that's with my political home, which is Common Defense and a bunch of other progressive veterans, right? I am a part of an organization that cares that much, right? It's a veteran-led organization that cares that much that I have found peace. I have found a place to fight, and I've found a place to like radically rest as well.
Say more, radically rest. That is
Yeah. So like one of the trainings that I went to at Common Defense, one of the longtime organizers got up there and said something about like a lot of the times we get out there and we feel this immense guilt if we're not doing anything, or if we didn't write an op-ed, or if we didn't organize an action, or we didn't stay in front of a story. There's a moment where like if I don't have anything going on, I do feel bad, and I'm like, do I call up Ricardo up in Phoenix and ask him, do you need help up at the immigration office? Or do I take that moment because I have a break from my personal work to rest, right? Like those are some of the things that are really hard to do because it's hard to, and I think this is also just like kind of a work ethic and like just something, especially for veterans, I'm not going to speak very specifically to veterans, is that we are taught excellence. We're taught to show up on time. So when we move together, it's amazing, right? You just kind of jump in, and we are like this like oiled wheel, even if it's the first time that we're all working together, because we have so many similar things that were embedded into us because of the military. So it is hard. It is hard to take that time when I know my comrades are doing stuff over here, or my sis is over in Hawaii putting in work. But there are so many things to fight for, right? I live, fair fee transit just here in Tucson, right? I want that to happen because why? Because veterans, especially unsheltered ones, use that to get to the VA. The VA's benefits are getting cut. That matters to me because my mom and my dad both rely on that. My mom was an unsheltered veteran, right? She experienced homelessness. When I asked her what was the hardest part about being homeless, she said it was getting to and from the VA, but she was able to find help because she was able to get there. These things intersect so hard. If I just explain just my own personal experience, right, I can go through all of those lists. And then on top of that, I know what it's like to be a veteran who joins right out of high school, not out of high school, but like, shortly after high school, is fed the pipe dream. I think that I'm out there fighting for our freedoms while shooting at other people. And I think that's okay. I can only imagine if citizenship was what was dangled in front of me, and then no one's taking care of this 18-year-old kid on what's next for their citizenship. They miss an ICE meeting while they're deployed. They come back and they get deported while dealing with PTSD and everything else that comes along with being deployed. Like these things are so intersectional. It is unreal, right? And that is chaos in the brain, right? Like, and so I think as long as I keep this in front of me and it's all intersected, if I am focusing on one area, because I do have multiple things happening, I know that is also affecting other things. So when people try to say they're overwhelmed, when you work in one space and you choose one thing that you can be passionate about, you are touching other things too. It's not just that, right? If you are fighting against all the trashy legislation against trans people, you're affecting change in other areas too. So I get that being overwhelmed is a thing, but choose something because we can't use that all the time.
Otherwise they win. I think that's the point that I've gotten to in 2025 is it is time for so many communities for us to level up our not just coping strategies, but our thriving strategies. Like it is time for us to learn how to have peace of mind amongst total chaos. It is time for us to learn how to be able to access radical rest when there is so much harm that's happening. Because if we don't create that ability, if we don't learn those habits and hacks and make that a strength, then we will be pulled under, right? So it does feel like this is the time that we have to up level and it sounds trite to say it, but those self-care skills. And I love that you have pointed out that a part of that can be understanding how intersectional this challenge is, and that when we do focus on one and allow ourselves to be powerfully present and greatly impactful in just one specific area, it truly is affecting all of these other areas because it truly is so intersectional at this point.
Right. Yeah, that's why, again, I started with Fair Free Transit. That hits so many things, right? And so, yes, just like you said, just in one place, I like am begging, right? Like I want more people to realize that, because people want to do something. They really do. I think deep down they do. But we are so good. The brain is so good at giving us all the reasons why we shouldn't. So we need to overcome that, right? It's procrastination in just different, all these other different forms, also coupled with the trauma of watching the world on fire. I get it. But you don't, get uncomfortable, right? Like people need to get uncomfortable. Come out of your homes. People who are doing the work, we need you.
Yes. And I think, okay, there's two things I want to go to there, and hopefully I'll remember them both. The first one is, how can we help people who truly feel a need to get off social media because it's just really putting their well-being in a tailspin, and yet they still want to show up and support? It's this like, how do we help them stay connected so that they can show up and support without them having to put their mental health on the line by going onto social media? I think that's one of the biggest challenges activism itself has today, and corporate as well, because social media is taking your people down mental health wise in so many ways. And yet we don't have this ability to stay in touch and stay connected and know what my nephew is doing, right? Unless I'm on social media. That's been a challenge.
Man, that's such a, I mean, we I was born in 1984, right? There has been some massive cultural shifts in how we communicate. From the time where it was like kind of cell phones, and then it was cell phones, and then now I talk to the same person on 3 different platforms sometimes, right?
Yep.
And yes, that is one of my main ways of keeping up with my family. I get to celebrate them because of what they're sharing online. And the culture of like, because of that, we were making less phone calls to them, right? If I feel like I don't feel as guilty if I let my brother know, hey, congratulations on 3 years in business, as opposed to if he called me up and he said, hey, sis, just so you know, this is 3 years in business, and I get to congratulate him, right? We don't do that anymore. That's a cultural shift. I really don't know how we do that, but I'll tell you other ways that I stay connected without being on social media. And that's really is finding community, right? And you got to be willing to try new things, meet new people, go to meetings, go to town halls, go get out, go do something in the community, volunteer somewhere, right? When there's a call to like come and do something, pay attention. If you go to the same coffee shop all the time, and maybe you don't want to find this information online, check out the bulletin boards, go old school. I don't know, right? But sure, check out, right? Also, maybe adjust your settings. I'm not sure. I don't know. But if you're not using social media as that platform, then you got to get out. You got to go outside. And I encourage that. I highly encourage that. But at the end of the day, you got to find your community. You got to find a team. You got to find a group of friends. Hell, even if it's just 3 of you and you guys come up with something. And if you can't find it, start to build it. Find a coalition and start to build it. Find like-minded people. I guarantee you that person that's feeling that has a chat group, has a text message group, and they're all saying the same thing to each other. That's a perfect place to start building.
I love that. And I think there's something about, can you imagine, if you worked on a corporate team and that team leader came in, what'd you do this weekend? And that leader says, yeah, I went to a Fair Free Transit meeting and I learned about this. And they don't even have to share an opinion. Doesn't matter. just knowing that your boss took the time to go to that meeting and learn about something that's going on in the community, literally that in and of itself can make such a huge difference in the team connection. And then I think to be able to give ourselves permission to say, maybe I can't be on social media and follow this one nonprofit group that I want to support. But what I can do is pair up with my two buddies that I communicate really well with, and we can figure out a way that the three of us together can create some kind of impact in a way that's realistic for our lives and our mental health.
Yeah.
I think that's so powerful, how activism can look in so many different ways, and how when a leader is willing to be active, doesn't matter in what way, it is the act of showing up. It's the act of being willing to be uncomfortable and to go out of your comfort zone. That in and of itself, it's amazing how much a leader communicates when they're willing to do that. And knowing as an employee, I can get that outlet. I can go into that community and experience that healing as well. Because I think it's a crucial part of our burnout prevention is those community connections.
Yeah. Can I share something real quick?
Please.
Is there time to do that?
Yeah, I'm in charge. That's fine. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. I just want to share this because I not that long ago experienced one of those like life-changing moments, right? Where after this happened, I was a different person. And again, this is where I go back to making yourself uncomfortable, finding community, and letting them, like Common Defense, for example, right? Like I found a group of progressive veterans, and we built trust. We connected, and then they provided training and experiences and actions that I got to just be a part of. I didn't need to lead it. I didn't need to be an expert in it. And but what I wanted to share was, a lot of the times people will ask me, what was it like to deploy, right? And I can sit here with every adjective in the book and try to describe what war is like. What is it like to be near a blast? What is it like to smell a burning body or a burnt body, right? And then, so on the other side of that, right, immigration, I've known about immigration my whole life. I've known about deportations my whole life, right? So Common Defense went to El Paso, Texas for a training. And part of that was to go across the border to what are called bunkers. These are coalitions of lawyers, nonprofits, veterans, even people who are using their own homes and their own income to run these. It's like an underground railroad. Okay. And they exist to get veterans who are being deported right away, get to them and give them as much information as they can, give them some tools so they can start protecting themselves. When these veterans come across the border, some of the things that they are going to experience right away is probably homelessness. Some of them come across, they don't even speak Spanish, right? And they're thrown in Mexico City, a country they've never lived in. And or the cartel is like, hey, you're a perfect candidate. You have military experience, and why not, right? We went across the border. I met 15 deported veterans. Okay. That was hard. It was hard to see. It was hard to hear the stories. One of the stories that really, really hurt to hear was this guy had a son that was born while he was deported. He was one of the people that missed an interview. And he in a week or so, he was going to get his three minutes at the wall with his son that he hasn't seen. Right. And he's emotional and in tears because he doesn't even want to go see his son, because his whole thing is like, what is that going to do? I feel like I'm going to hurt him more than just not seeing him at all until this is all figured out. Right. So to like have to question 3 minutes through a wall, right? To see your son who you haven't seen, and you've just had to figure out how to carry those emotions. And you're reluctant to even get that 3 minutes because you think it's going to hurt that kid more than it's going to do any good. So when we came and then there was also a couple members that were like hiding from the cartel. Okay. So like, this is such a real thing. I would have never had the kind of compassion and anger that I have now if I did not go and see that. Same thing with war. People are so detached. They have no idea what they're supporting when they think genocide is okay. We've never experienced this, right? I mean, yes, 9/11. So there are some people do know what it's like, and probably every military member that's been deployed, but people support things blindly and they have no idea what that looks like on the other side. And I just wanted to share that when people are trying to find like a purpose or a good enough reason to get involved, or when leaders are when you want to sit there and be so desensitized and try to really separate what is happening outside your business, like keep that in mind. That is the kind of stuff you're missing an opportunity to take care of your teams and to check in on them, because that's how real it is out there.
Yeah, it is that lived experience. I mean, so much of success in allyship, success in leadership, success in mental health comes down to that, having that lived experience. And if it's not your lived experience, believing the lived experience of the person who had it, because it is also that human nature of like, oh, she's probably exaggerating, or that's probably too much, right? It's a knee-jerk reaction that emotional intelligence helps us to evolve past. And so that idea of having my own lived experience before I form an opinion that's based on someone else's theories because they haven't had the lived experience either, right? Like that becomes this, either we learn how to do that and we keep evolving and we keep growing and we keep increasing our impact, or we don't learn how to do that and we stay stagnant and we swirl and our mental health will suffer because we haven't been able to figure out how to move beyond and have our own lived experience and believe the lived experience of others rather than basing our decisions on someone else's theory, right? It's part of that whole let's reclaim our own power in our own lives kind of thing. Thank you so much. I can't imagine how hard that was to experience, how hard it is to relate that. I know, being someone who I have stories that I need to share in order to get a point across, and yet they are personal stories, right? Like I experienced that. It can be a challenge to keep speaking up and to keep repeating the story and keep teaching people. I always throw this in there. I have one more question I'm going to throw in, and then we'll do our last question, and then we'll be done.
Okay.
We ran right before we went live. We ran into the same challenge that pretty much every human in America is running into, which is how do you say, hello, how are you? In this moment, in June of 2025, the how are you question feels like a freaking gold mine. Oh my gosh, like a mine. Thank you. That's what it feels like, because it's like I want to express that I really do want to know how you are, and at the same time, we're on a Zoom call and we're supposed to be discussing KPIs or something, right? Like it's that challenge, and you and I, as people who are working in really the humanity of life right now.
Yeah.
If you're not someone I can be very real with when I answer that question, please don't ask, almost. Yeah. Right? And yet that feels so rude. And I know that feels rude, but at the same time, I need you to come at me with a different energy. If it's this polite, like, how are you? We're going to have to do something else, right? Like, I hope you're well. Like, or I know things are really hard right now and I hope you're managing. I don't know. Like, if you could change that vernacular to anything, any ideas? Or do we just assume everyone's struggling?
I mean, yeah, I mean, even amongst like, my veteran group, a lot of the times it's one of those things where it's like, how are you doing? I don't even know why I'm asking. I know you're tired. You know what I mean? Like, and we can joke, we can joke about that. Bringing up, yes, the conversation that we had before we started this meeting. I want to share that there is a fatigue when it's the same people checking in, right? And like, it's always I can't believe this is happening. This attack on Iran might be really triggering for you. And I'm just like, yes, it is. You know, it is. and it's just always like, I like, let me know how I can help, and it's like having those same conversations. There's a fatigue that comes with that, like being asked, how are you doing? And how can I help? Right. Like you're in just me and my own personal experience, right? I'll just talk for me. I know you're following what the work that I'm doing, and, or you're liking it or sharing it and whatnot. So your next step at that point, like, is not necessarily, I don't need you to check in on me. Right. But help out, right? Like if you know that I'm going to be at a protest, drop off a case of water, make a donation to the Bell Fund. Say, hey, can I send 12 pizzas over there so we can make sure people are eating as well while they're sitting there waiting for the next for the next court hearings to start again, right? Like if you want to ask how we're doing, right? Like I think we're at the point where, like, put some resources behind that.
There it is. There it is.
Yeah, whether it's boots on the ground or money but checking in, that currency is gone.
I think you are so right. I used to say when something would happen, right, the next day on LinkedIn, I would post, check in on your team members that XYZ, right, are queer or are veterans or whatever, right? And then we are past that. I truly do feel that. Like if you feel that need, like, ooh, I just saw this headline. I know that Bob in accounting shares that identity. Don't send the check-in text or the check-in email. Take action. Yeah. And then next time you see him, feel free to mention that. Instead of the hug and the how are you, I dropped off a piece at the protest last night. I hope it was helpful. I hope you're doing okay.
Yeah.
How much of a difference would that make versus I just want to check in on you?
Yeah. And I only knew about the process because you shared it. Thank you. Yeah. It's given me the courage to take the first step to getting involved. And if it's dropping off a case of water, then do it.
Yeah. Then do it. Which takes us right to that joy. At Latitude, we believe that using joy is a prevention method, a burnout prevention method, just as much as it is an outcome that we all hope for, right? Everything we do it because we hope we're going to feel better because of it. And when we can be very intentional and consistent in accessing joy, it just builds us and that helps prevent that just emptiness that can come when it's all there, when the demand is huge. So we always love to hear how we are accessing joy. For me, I took myself. I keep forgetting we're live. Oh dear.
I know this almost feels like a normal conversation, like
right. Last weekend I went to New Mexico. I fished the San Juan River. I stayed in the fly fishing lodge where there was, I think, 7 other guys that were all fishing, and I fished every single one of them.
Oh, I love that.
Fabulous. And it absolutely restored me. 23-inch rainbow on the San Juan. Yes. That is joy right there. Oh, Melissa, tell me about your joy. How are you accessing it these days?
Okay, 3 things. I'm about to go on vacation with my partner and her kids. I'm looking forward to that.
It's not vacation, honey. It's not kid equals no vacation. Okay, but I'll go with you.
Well, you know what? Sure. Her kids are actually really fun. So I'm looking forward to that. We're gonna go to Mexico, and the other thing that's bringing me joy is that this title you see down here, the Veterans Power America, this is a fairly new position for me. It is absolutely a dream job. I'm getting paid to organize, and I never thought that would happen. So, usually that was something that I would have to do on my own time and, after work or before work. And now I get paid to do it. And it's absolutely a dream come true. Mm-hmm. The third thing I want to say is that while I am organizing and while I'm out there, the thing that is bringing me joy is that I am seeing more and more Brown, Indigenous, and BIPOC and queer and trans youth on the front lines of these fights. And it is absolutely amazing to see. It's amazing to see how they will show up at the immigration courthouse in Phoenix, and they're just like, where do I go? What do I do? What do I need to do? And they're looking to all the organizer leaders, which is typically Ricardo with Common Defense, who's out there just holding it down for the whole coalition that's out there doing the work. And it's these young kids in all walks of life that are showing up. And that is a joy that just makes, like, for me, like, we're going to be okay. we're going to be okay because this is the future of us right now. We're going to be okay.
That is so true. It is literally every time I get together with my college kids and their friends, and I listen to how they are viewing what's happening right now, and they are applying their critical thinking skills in a way that I see from very few older adults.
Exactly.
It's so hopeful. It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have all the answers. We need to start listening to them.
Except when it comes to food. They don't have good taste.
Sure.
And clothing. I don't take fashion advice from them anymore at all, ever.
That's hilarious.
But everything else, yeah. Melissa, thank you so much for being here.
No, thank you. I love this. Thank you for giving me a platform to talk about the things that I'm passionate about. I found healing in just this time here with you too. So I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, audience. I can't wait to see you next time. I have no idea who I'm interviewing next time. I'll let you know when I do. But this has been an absolutely incredible time together. I appreciate you, and I hope you're all good to yourselves and have a wonderful day.